You know, being a girl who grew up wanting to be on the radio, what a cool opportunity to talk to this guy who made such an impact on the Howard Stern show. Now has a new documentary out, and it's certainly a fun conversation. The joke man, Jackie Martling. Welcome to the KJ Today Show, your place for the positive vibes of pop culture, people to know, and pets.
Hello, thanks for taking the call. Much appreciated.
Oh my goodness! I'm a fan, of course, being a radio girl my whole life. Admire so much of what you have done, Jackie, and excited for Joke Man the movie to finally be coming out. I often like to start off by asking you to tell the story of how the documentary finally got made, because sometimes that adventure is as entertaining as the documentary itself.
Absolutely, the whole making of is crazy because I've been off the Stern show since 2001, and there was interest here and interest there, and people start up and fall off, and I had a radio show for 8 years on Howard 101 with Ian Carr. And Ian has this amazing production house, and he's been doing stuff for the networks for like 30 years. And he said, you know what? I want to make the documentary. I want to show the world, like, who you are. Because when we met 25 years ago at the Friars Club, after 5 minutes of talking to each other, he said, you are nothing like that guy that's portrayed on that show. I said, well, it's all good copy, being cheap and angry and crazy and, And I'm actually, not to be a spoiler, but I'm a pretty decent guy. And then he went about it, but it takes a lot of time, just chasing down Willie Nelson himself, who was totally into it. Took a year, and then getting Artie Lang and circling and going around getting Marc Cuban and Penn Jillette. It was just such an adventure. And he got all my family, and they had to go through all the pictures and the old videotapes. So, yeah, it was quite the process, but to have it finally I'm still pinching myself that it's out. It's going to be out tomorrow, and it's the culmination of, it's Ian Carr's IKA collective production house and Ronnie Thomas. They're the guys that did it. I just kind of sat there and watched it happen, but it's so exciting, and people are just coming out of the woodwork. I don't realize that, of course, radio people around the country were tuned in the whole time to see what happened next on the Stern show. And we were so caught up and so busy doing it, we never had the time to turn around and take a bow, So it's, that sounds pompous because it's Howard's thing. But we were definitely a big part of it, the rest of us,
Oh my gosh. Yes, please take all of the credit. I mean, as a DJ, right? I got my big break moving from a little town in Wisconsin to Omaha in 1996. And I don't think the 22-year-old girl was necessarily the target of the Howard Stern show, but I was fascinated and learned so much just on how, like you said, how you all developed your characters and, having a version of yourself that is somewhat true, like you weren't faking it, but also it's not the entirety of who you are when you're on a show like that. It's a craft, man. And it is such an honor to talk with you after so many years of not only listening and enjoying, but really kind of understanding the art of what you were doing.
It's so great to hear about it taken from a point of view like yours. That's great because, it's kind of funny because we're all caricatures, but my caricature, like if you take a caricature of somebody who's got a big nose, they take the caricature and make the nose much bigger. Only in my case, I didn't start with the big nose, but they just made it one. You know what I mean? I'm just talking about how things were exaggerated, but that was Howard's genius. And, it's just the way everything blossomed and blossomed. I'll tell you, after the first year or two, when the show was red hot in New York, every time I got interviewed, they say, well, the show is so great, but how long can it last? And I'm telling you, every interview for the next 15 years was like, wow, you guys have been on a roll for a long time, but how long can it last? And it just, kept getting reinvented, and then the TV shows and the book and the movie, and adding stations. So I think we got up to like 55 stations, and we were number one in a lot of them. And and then everybody's trying to imitate it. It was just such a whole thing, and it's just so great to have it documented now. It's just exciting as hell.
Well, and so many of us know you from what you did on radio, but you are, I mean, you're an accomplished stand-up comedian, you're an author, you're a musician. Do all of those things really, get spotlighted in Joke Man the movie?
Well, they all get touched on. I get touched on as an actor, but very lightly so in the movie, but because I was only lightly so an actor, But I'm an author, but I wrote a joke book and I wrote my autobiography. I didn't write the great American novel, but and I was a musician for a long time. I just didn't, I dropped out of music when I was 31 to become a comic because I realized that if I ever wanted to eat a decent meal, I better do something else for a living, But yeah, I was totally into all those things, and they all get touched on, and everybody has a good time with them,
Yeah. I've got, of course, the official press release in front of me. Joke Man is a universal story of self-discovery, grit, and how humor is the biggest key to authentic happiness. Can you expand on that a little bit? Because I think, in this day and age, I too believe that humor is key to so much of the happiness in life.
Well, ever since I was a kid, for whatever reason, which I'm not sure whether it was a great childhood or a rotten childhood or whatever it was, jokes have stuck to me and stuck in my head, and I've always enjoyed telling them to people and just really love to make people laugh. And it's a genuine thing. It's organic in me. Whether it's ego or whatever you'd call it, if I make somebody laugh, that makes me feel great. But it makes them feel great, too. So as selfish as it sounds, it's not really selfish because it's a sharing. And, if I go to the post office and make the guy at the post office laugh, that feels good, just like, making a room full of 800 people laugh. It's just something you enjoy. And, and you can't be angry while you're laughing. And with all the anger and craziness in the world, laughter is more and more at a premium. I think the timing of this documentary is amazing because it's very obvious that all I've ever wanted to do is make people laugh and enjoy themselves. And like you say, the world could use more and more and more of that for sure,
Absolutely. We are talking about Joke Man the movie, which is out iTunes, Apple TV, and Amazon tomorrow. Have you done any screenings with family and friends and had the opportunity to just enjoy it yourself?
It's funny. We did one screening. Family and friends. And so many of the people that are in the movie, like all the members of my family and my girlfriend and my ex-wife, everybody's in the movie, and we're all at the screening. And it's an odd situation to sit there and watch yourself in a movie no matter what. But when the whole movie's about you, it's very odd. But the most enjoyable thing was watching all the people in the crowd laughing and enjoying. And that's what was, not watching myself on screen, but watching other people really enjoying it and realizing that hopefully across the country, everybody's going to enjoy it just like them, So it's I can't even express how excited I am. If I sound a little tongue-tied, I'm just I'm very thrilled. It's been a long time coming. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think one of the wonderful things that has it made your career so long is that infectious enthusiasm and your laugh and just the joy that you bring to any conversation. So please be giddy and tongue-tied. I mean, this is such an exciting time for you. I got to ask you about, we're in Indianapolis. When I said we were going to have you on, of course, everybody's like, we want some stories about Marc Cuban. He's a Hoosier and we're proud of that. Can you talk a little bit about how that friendship developed and how it has been such a big part of your life?
Marc wasn't a big part of my life, but it was very important. And the very fact that he's a Hoosier from Indianapolis. He had already made it big in California, but then he started a company in Dallas. And we were adding stations like crazy. And like when we added Chicago or Denver or, Boston, I would go and do shows on weekends. I'd go and do comedy shows and make a real lot of money because it was, and I spent so many years making no money. And all of a sudden we're radio stars and I'm making big money. And they called me up from Dallas and said, hey, we have this new company and you guys just got to town and we really love the show. We want you to come out and do a promotion for our new company, but we haven't got any money. And I said, geez, it's everything I could do. I got to tell my wife that after a week on the radio and never being home that I got to go away for a weekend. It's hard enough to do it when it's for thousands and thousands of dollars. I can't just go to Dallas and do a promotion. I said, I'll tell you what, though, I'll give you all my stuff if you want. So I didn't know who Marc Cuban was, but at the time I didn't even hear his name. There was this guy, Sam, that worked for this company, and Marc's company was called AudioNet.com. In the very beginning, the internet was text, and then it became the World Wide Web. Then eventually they added pictures, and then they were slowly starting to add audio. And it was Marc's dream to have college basketball games be able to be heard on the internet because he wanted to broadcast the basketball games from his college. And these guys said, fine, just send. I sent them all my CD. I don't think I even had CDs yet. I think this is like 1993. I don't know the date, but I sent them all my videotapes and all my cassettes and everything I had. And they made it a long loop, a 6-hour endless loop of all my wild jokes and craziness, and actually had a button on the internet on their site. So if you're listening to a basketball game and it went to halftime, you could hit the button and hear Jackie telling his stupid jokes. And they were so thrilled, but it was great for me too, because all of a sudden I'm being introduced to Dallas. And then a couple of years later, I pick up the paper at the Stern Show, the Post, and the headline is broadcast.com sells for $4 billion. And then I open it up, it says broadcast.com, formerly audionet.com. I'm like, holy mackerel. That's that guy. And then Marc, he's on the documentary saying, yeah, Jackie, really helped us out when we needed it, which is a little bit of an exaggeration, but not a lot. Everybody gravitates to comedy and to dirty jokes and to fun. And he's, to this day, if I send him an email, he writes back like in a minute. He appreciates. So, I got all these billionaire friends, but somehow I didn't become a billionaire.
I feel that, Jackie. Joke Man, the movie, it's coming out. What are you going to do? What are you going to do tomorrow when this thing's finally out there? People are watching it.
I have another radio tour tomorrow. Then I'm going on Anthony Cubia's show, who's an old friend from the old Opie and Anthony. And then we're going to go out and be a little silly. And then tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., I got the Jim Kerr morning show, which is the largest rock and roll show in the tri-state area. And I've been friends with him for like 40 years. These people, I've known everybody for so damn long. It's frightening. My politics don't match up or this doesn't match up. I'm friends with these people back from the days of let's have a beer and laugh at everything, so it transcends everything. And now I'm going around and all the chickens are coming home to roost, like the Marc Cubans and the people, hey, remember me? And they do, which is just nice. So I'm sure the celebration will go on in my head for a while because there's still so much promotion to do,
Oh, yes. Well, please, Jackie, be in the moment and enjoy it all because you deserve it. Thank you so much for being on KJ Today with me today. It was an honor to get this time with you, and continued success and continued laughs for your future and everything you still want to do.
I appreciate it. And the easiest way to access it is jokemanmovie.com. I always like to leave that in people's brains. Jokemanmovie.com. And KJ, thank you very much. I'm going to make sure I send you an autographed copy of my autobiography, and you can stare at it and maybe read it when you retire.
I would be honored. Thank you so much, Jackie. Take care. Thanks for joining us for another celebrity interview. Of course, the KJ Today Show isn't just about talking to celebs. It's about hanging out with you. Join us live on Wednesday nights for pop culture, people to know, and pets. The KJ Today Show on YouTube. Subscribe and watch live Wednesday nights at 7.